We've been talking about non-self for almost 2 weeks now. And so today, on this auspicious day, for many, it's time for each and every one of us to make a decision about what we're going to do from this point forward with our own energy, our own initiative, our own commitment, our own persistence. What it is that we want to do from this point on. What I mean by that is that we've got this whole gambit of experience, from fear and anger to enlightenment. And all of it is available, or any of it is available to all of us at any time. And it depends upon what you want to do now with it. You know, we've talked it to death. And now it's time for each of us to make the decision as to how we want to spend the rest of our lives. And it's okay. There are people who are complacent and content with being in a world of fear and anger. So you've got people building walls. You've got people buying guns. You've got people attacking people who were attacked. Okay? So we can certainly embrace those things if we so desire. We've got a group to join if that's where we want to be, and we don't feel like doing any work ourselves to make a difference. And again, it's okay. It's not mandatory, it's not compulsory. The only thing that we do is affect the contentment of our lives. And that's something that's individualistic until it isn't. If you want to live with suffering in all of its manifestations, again, it's okay. And you don't have to do anything else but suffer. You don't have to practice. You don't have to change. You don't have to study. You don't have to commit. And it's all right. It's all right. You'll have plenty of company. Now, the thing to remember, if you decide to issue forth change because you don't want to suffer, it doesn't mean that everyone else is going to change with you and for you. It just means that a part of the education of change is to realize that there are people who are still going to hate you for who you are right in this moment. No matter how hard you try to be good or different or better, there are people who are going to hate you. A part of the dilemma for Westerners in this day and time is Why are there groups of people who hate me and they don't even know me? Well, if it makes it any easier for you to accept that, I've lived in a country all my life where people hate me, and they're Americans too. The point of understanding is this, that no matter what you do, and no matter how you change, and no matter how you articulate, and no matter what you wear, no matter what school you went to, there are going to be people who don't like you. We find this in our own families. So a part of working towards non-suffering and enlightenment is to realize how the world is and how it isn't. And it's not how we want it to be. It just is what it is. And that's part of the growth. To begin to learn how to love those who don't love us. To be kind to those who are not kind to us. That's the practice. There's a saying in Scripture that it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into the kingdom of heaven. Now, have you ever thought about what that really means? I mean, that sounds really crazy on the surface. What, a camel and a needle and a rich man in heaven? What does this all have to, how does this tie in? It's because in order to reach that place of nibbana, that place of stillness and deathlessness and contentment, peace, that heavenly abode, you must give up everything. And if you're not willing to give up everything, then it's not going to work. But you can make change by giving up selected things. You can manage to orchestrate a future where it is pretty much guaranteed that you will not have the karma that takes you into dark places, whatever you might call that place, the hell realm, whatever you think that is, that place that makes us so afraid to die. If we thought that when we died, whenever that was, that we would all go to heaven, then we wouldn't worry about that. We wouldn't think about that. We wouldn't be afraid of that. But it's that nagging thought that you didn't clean everything up. So there are lifestyles that will assure us that even though we have to come back, we won't have to dwell in any of the dark places until we come back again. So all of those things are choices too. So you've got plenty of choices. It's not like it's a choiceless thing. It's not like you have to be enlightened or not, and nothing else works. But it's just to remember that if you decide to hold on to the world and to the dhammas of the world, the objects of the world, that there's going to be certain things that come with that, certain losses and gains that come with that you're just going to have to put up with because of your choices. It's all up to you. But you've got to go and think about it very seriously as to what you want to do, because I'm tired of talking. Just as something to reflect on, the fetters, the 10 fetters, the hindrances to enlightenment. The first one is the belief in a permanent self. The second is doubt. The third is clinging to rites and rituals. The fourth is attachment to sense desires. The fifth is ill will. The sixth is craving for non-existence or existence in the form world. The seventh is craving for non-existence or existence in the formless world. The eighth is conceit. The ninth is restlessness. The 10th is ignorance. Now you can see that by practicing emptiness, by eliminating the concept, the idea of an independent self, you've already erased the 10 hindrances, the 10 fetters. Now, what is gradual training? Again, we might not want to swallow the whole whale at one time. We might want to do this a bit at a time, this gradual training. And there are 37 things to work with for gradual training. It's the 4 frames of reference, or the foundations of mindfulness, the 4 foundations of mindfulness, the 4 right exertions, the 4 bases of power, the 5 faculties, the 5 strengths, the 7 factors of enlightenment or awakening, and the Noble Eightfold Path. So if you want to do it the long way and the hard way, these are the things that you will have to work on and develop within yourself. Of course, eventually you'll have to get to the void or non-self through right view. But you can take a little longer. You don't have to work on it right away. You don't have to get rid of who you are right away. You can still keep your diplomas up on the walls and tell people who you are and who you're not. The only drawback to that is you don't know when your time's going to be up. That's the only scary part about taking the long way home. You don't know when your time is going to be up. Every day in the papers, on the internet, we read about people who left home to go to work and didn't make it back. So it's not to scare you. It's not to encourage you to get busy. It's just to say, this is a reality. And it is just one of the dhammas. Death is just a dhamma that's there for everyone. And it's always inconvenient. Now the shortcut is the mantra and the expression that nothing should be clung to as I or mine. Boy, that is so short and so simple. Not a whole lot of 4ths and 5ths and 6ths and 8ths. Just that one mantra, that one instruction. Nothing should be clung to as I or mine. An European philosopher, who some say was enlightened, that went by the pen name of Wei Wu Wei. Is anyone familiar with Wei Wu Wei? No? Okay. There you go. Something new. Who would have thought it? He wrote that nothing, he says, it should make no difference whether we dispose of self or other. For the disposal of either eliminates both. Okay, did you hear that? You understand that? Okay. He said that the masters, talking about the enlightened masters from the Chan traditions and the Theravada traditions, said, stop thinking. For then neither self nor other exists any longer. Okay? The expression to cease thinking means to cease thinking as from a self. For pure thought, absolute thought, direct thought, the one thought, is what thought is when there is no thinker. Okay? Philosophers, theologians, moralists, sociologists, anyone who spends time considering the troubles of mankind, their wrongs, griefs, miseries, conflicts, ambitions, personal and general, have analyzed these things and attributed them to the almost everything from Satan to heredity. Literature is largely composed of the problems arising from this search for the cause of what is called evil. But you have only to sit back and think for a few minutes in order to perceive that what is called evil is only one cause, a most obvious one, that is neither Satan nor heredity, nor anything in between. It is the I concept, the notion of an individual, of a separate self. Take that away and nothing deriving from it can remain, for all are derived from pride, greed, envy, desire, ambition, etc., all of which are manifestations of egoism, or what is commonly called selfishness. Were every human being suddenly to lose that notion, were every human being suddenly to lose that notion of selfness, which we know to be unfounded and quite unreal, all these evils, indeed all evil, would automatically cease to exist. That is theoretical. We know of no means of bringing that about, and it would be the famous millennium. Only an infinitesimal minority of individuals have succeeded in realizing that they are not such. But is there any reason why the upbringing and normal education of every child should not be directed, indeed consecrated to that end? Such a process would not produce a millennium created by selfless men and women. No, it would not. But it would, but in whatever degree of success in awakening the notion of self, the preoccupation of self, is just that degree would life on earth come to resemble the kingdom of heaven. All right? There we go. No matter what you decide to do as an individual, whether you decide to continue to reside in the land of the suffering, the land of duality, whether you decide to take the long way around, the gradual training, whether you decide to work with the concepts of self and non-self, you're going to have to a smaller or greater degree, understand the mind. You've got to, even if you decided that you just want to be in the world, you don't want to give up your things, you still have to understand why you do what you do, why you think what you think, why you allow the influences that influence you to be in this immediate reality. So you have to understand mind. Again, scripture, the kingdom of heaven is within. Go inside. And so that's what we're going to spend our time doing from here on out. We're going to work with this. We're not going to make any headway just coming and talking to each other. It's nice. It's social. But it doesn't move us forward. It doesn't move us closer to our true nature. Any questions?
Thank you, Panyadipa. Just a small question. It sounded like you said we could hold on to our stuff. Mm-hmm. And still, if we understand the mind, kind of have some degree of enlightenment. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little more about that, because I kind of would like to be there. Hold on to my stuff. And still know that I have given things the right meaning, that I'm not possessed by it all.
Okay. First of all, I didn't say that you could hold on to your stuff and get a little bit enlightened. I didn't say that. No, because you can't. Because you can't. But what you can be is okay with where you are. And that's something that everyone should develop, an okayness about where they are. Because this denies the entrance of frustration and discontent. If I'm okay where I am, wherever that is, then I'm not discontent with where I am. Okay? But what I'm talking about is being able to live in relationship with the other in a way that doesn't produce karma or reaction to my actions that would be detrimental to me, that would be harmful and injurious to me. What we don't understand is the payback, in relationship. So as long as we decide to be an individual, separate from other individuals, so that we have this me and the other, there's going to be a continual give and take. If I am able to only give kind and respectful things to the other in service and in objects and speech and mind, then the world is designed to make me be okay no matter what comes back from that. But we do know, just through our everyday experiences, that when I defecate on the world, it smells. And so I realized that I have a responsibility in relationship. Like I said, that does not necessarily mean that the other is going to treat me in kind. But it allows me to be in that moment of unkindness from the other with an okayness. It allows me to accept and recognize the ignorance of the other without suffering because of the ignorance of the other. So, in living that way, I never have to question, what did I do? Because I know that all I did was the best I could. You know? And that's what I would continue to try to do with them and everyone else that I'm in association with and relationship with, which is the rest of the world. Because the other is the rest of the world. So it's me and everyone else. And as long as I walk responsibly, I don't have to second guess my own actions. So all of the things we say at the beginning of each opening, I vow not to kill, I vow not to take, I vow not to have harsh speech. As long as we live each day with those commitments in the forefront, as long as we treat everyone else with that respect, again, like I said, it's very important to understand that that does not mean that they're going to treat us the same. But it doesn't matter. Because all that matters is me. Everything else is just Dhamma. Everything else is just empty. I'm full of it until I choose not to be full of it anymore. So I'll be full of me and mine and I until I choose not to be full of me and mine and I. That's my decision. But everything out here is just empty. And when I admit it and own up to it, this is just empty too. But until I come to that realization, that's what we've got, the living in duality, the relationship between me and everything else in the whole world. Okay? Anyone else?
Venerable, you spoke just then of the vows,
Mm-hmm.
and each vow to me is very complex. It involves many things and considerable consideration. And if one lives one's life in accordance with those vows,
Mm-hmm.
does not that eventually lead to emptiness of self?
No. Because in order to have a vow, you've got to have an I that takes the vow. So as long as there's vowing, there's got to be me that's doing the vowing, which keeps it alive, which keeps that relationship alive.
Is there a crossover point where you're
Yeah,
not
when you
saying
make
I?
Yeah, well, when you make the decision, there's a crossover point when you say, okay, well, I've done this for a while and this is working, but gee, I want to have more than this, or I want to have less than this. And what do I do now? What steps do I take now? So again, it's all up to you. As long as, as long as we're happy with our things, everything is sufficient. It's only when we become uncomfortable, it's only when those things do what those things do to support us, that we start to consider change, whether it be I'm going to trade this one for another one, or whether gee, this doesn't work. I'm going to stop embracing this as something that I want to include on my journey. And we put it down. But those are choices that we make along the way. But they don't, the fulfillment of that doesn't come automatically.
The theme of today being a Christian and Catholic holiday, I feel that I can draw the parallel between the vows at the beginning of the Dharma talk and the Ten Commandments in Christianity.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You sure can.
Mm-hmm. Like, and 3 of the vows fall under like the like reticence, whatever that one, which is I don't know how to explain it. Like the ones about harsh speech, malicious speech, gossip, they all fall under the same like commandment in Christianity. But the main reason I have this is because while I was thinking about what you were saying, I had a shocking moment of realization. The human imagination is the source of all pain.
Yeah, everything comes from the mind. Everything exists because of the mind. And imagination is a part of the function of mind.
So if you were to cut imagination out of your mind, then you'd feel no pain, but also you'd feel no joy, correct?
I'm not sure about that. Because remember, ultimately, mind is inclusive of heart. And as long as I have love in my heart and kindness in my heart, I will have joy. But the point is, the deeper understanding is that as long as I function in ego, I will experience duality. So I will have both or neither. The only way that I can sufficiently sustain peace and contentment is to eliminate all sense of ego and I, thereby eliminating all sense of duality.
Thank you, Panadeep.
Does that help you? I dug a deeper hole for myself. But thank you for your question, and thank you for your attention too. I really appreciate you. Thank you. I thank your dad for bringing you. Yeah, we need that young blood. Everybody's all right? Everybody's good? Okay. Then for the rest of your life, it's all about one thing, and that's one breath at a time. And being right there with it. Because the focus or the attention or the awareness on the one breath at a time keeps us right here in the present moment, where all things occur, where all illusions exist. And we only learn from what we experience, what we see, what we can wrap our attention around. Everything else just we miss, just goes by. We don't learn from it because we don't experience it. We only learn from what we experience. So it's about keeping everything in front of us so we don't miss anything. So we learn from everything that is in our way. Let's meditate on what we want to do, because that's how we started this session out, and ultimately that's the choice we'll have to make. Where do we go from here? What do I do? So we'll start out with a clean sheet. And we will abandon all covetousness and grief for the world. Because remember, all of that ultimately is empty. All covetousness, everything I want the world to be and everything I want everyone to be in the world. All of the things that have been done to me, all of the things I'm unhappy about, all of the people who I wish were better people, all covetousness and grief for the world. Abandon it. Leave it alone. It's empty. It's all in your mind. It's all been created by you in the first place. We ask ourselves, well, no, wait a minute, I didn't do that. That was the other guy who did that. But it was you who defined what the other guy did. Everything is created by your mind. One breath at a time. So give some thought to what you want to do, and we will make sure that we will give you the instructions that will allow you to create the mental field that is necessary for your desire, whatever that might be. Think about it. Come and either talk to me or Panyawadi about your decision, and we will present the information that is necessary, the instructions that you will need to manifest that. It's that simple. Thank you all for coming. This is a special day again. It's always nice to be mindful of the living masters who have walked the earth and brought us the message. But it's also to demonstrate to us that as powerful and as wise and as knowledgeable as these living masters were, we're still dealing with the same issues today that they were dealing with when they were walking the earth. So it relieves us from the belief that we're the ones that are supposed to make things different in the world. We're not. Remember this reality that we call samsara is a school. And it's just for us to walk through it. It's not a swamp unless we think it is. You know, when you can look at your litter box and it becomes a Zen garden, then you know you've got it, because the only duality is what you lay upon a thing, that you manifest on a thing. That's the only duality. Nothing is good or bad unless you think it's so. Who said that? Shakespeare, right? There's neither good nor bad, there's only what you think is so. Neither. Because as soon as you have good, you got to have bad. It's about the emptiness, the ultimate. But again, for those who make the decision that they want good, they have to understand that there will be bad that comes with that. Gotta be.